HBO has my subscription for just a little while longer.
Speaking of great HBO shows that have you hooked, what about Avenue 5?
Avenue 5, another HBO show.
The master of the segues,
He is,
right?
isn't he?
It's like, that's a really, it's like, we're going to talk about this now. It's like, okay. It's giving me a hard time, but it was funny.
Avenue 5 is another HBO show that just came out. It's more of along our lines of like the nerd culture in space, kind of a comedy-esque show. Oh, it's made by the same people who made Veep, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so I never watched Veep because I'm not into the political stuff, so I never really bothered. But I do like the actress from Seinfeld.
Veep was never actually political. It was just very awkward and humorous.
But this show, there's comedy's weird for me. I don't have like everybody's typical funny bone when it comes to comedy. So there was a lot of swing and missing for me in this episode. I was kind of like,
Veep is just like that.
Yeah, I was like, some of this stuff is really on point and funny, and then other stuff is just way like, okay,
I said the same thing.
It was just dumb, right? So there were some moments where I thought it was really funny. The saving grace of this show is Hugh Laurie. Having him on screen, I'd watch that dude trim his nose hairs. I don't care. I love his stuff. I love his acting. I think he's hilarious. He's got great comedic timing, and that's the reason why I'm watching this show.
Yeah. So
but the scientific aspect, I'll talk about it in a minute, has my nerd brain just going in circles because it makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, so the setup for the show is basically Avenue 5 is a luxury vacation space liner. And they're going on a trip around, I believe...
Jupiter?
Titan.
Jupiter's moon.
Yeah, Jupiter's moon. So like it's a 8-week space cruise, basically. And the ship itself is very large and friendly, and it's like a cruise liner. Yeah. And Hugh Laurie plays the captain, and basically the kind of a-hole son of Judd Industries, the guy who runs Judd Industries, I guess. He's on the luxury liner, and basically something happens during the course of their journey that could possibly be catastrophic. And it's just all these different kind of humorous, weird characters dealing with
every character is a meme.
Yeah.
Like they literally have
Karen.
They have Karen. Her name is actually Karen in the TV show, and I was like, oh my god, they have a Karen like that. They named her that. It's really funny.
We have the arguing housewife.
Yeah, the arguing housewife. We've got the overwhelmed concierge. Like it's all classic.
The nihilist.
The nihilist. He was pretty funny.
He's
Some
like,
of his
actually,
stuff.
I'm a nihilist.
Yeah.
Who loves Karen.
Yeah, she's my favorite.
It does have definitely some really funny moments.
Be sure to try our signature drink, the Judd Juice.
It's mostly milk.
It's mostly milk. Matt, what did you think of this show?
I was a little bored with it. I think it had its moments. I like the one scene with Hugh Laurie after the big catastrophe, where he was freaking out and his accent slipped. That was the best part of the episode for me. And that made me laugh. That was the only time in the whole show that I actually laughed.
Yeah.
I laughed out loud when the guy was getting acupuncture done and he falls against the window and all the needles get screwed into him.
Yeah, with Hugh Laurie, they're like, "What just happened with your voice?"
Yeah, it was like,
it went like, nee, 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 nee. and then they're like, "What are you, Australian?" He's like, "Actually, I'm British." And they're like, "Ooh, that's even worse." But Jude told me, she was like, "What type of future is it where American accents are more soothing than British
More
ones?"
reassuring.
Yeah, it's weird. Any other comments, Matt? What do you?
I'm going to keep watching it.
Yeah.
I hope it gets better. If it better get better, I'll quit. But luckily, it's only a 30-minute long show. So.
Are you just being a poopy pants because you're lonely and you're watching it by yourself? Come over.
I expected something different.
I'm going to go put sheets on the guest bed today when we go home.
Okay, good.
And some snacks.
I'm going to text my wife, moving in with Matt and Jude.
Call me when you get
home. I'll bring the cat with me. Yeah.
The scientific part that has my nerd brain going crazy is these people in the future have the technology to have a cruise liner go to Jupiter and back in 8 weeks by using the gravitational slingshot maneuver around the moon and back to Earth. Yeah. And this is all very cool and scientific, and that's pretty accurate, but they somehow have mock gravity throughout the entire ship that they have the ability to control with computer systems, which means they have some crazy technology because they're not using centrifugal force like an actual space station to hold people to the ground. It's just just looks like a boat just flying through space. So they have some kind of artificial gravity, which I thought was really cool and fascinating, but they don't have the ability to fire thrusters for like 30 seconds to put them back on course. Like the whole idea behind this show is that they're on some kind of like, they got knocked off their course and they have no way of correcting it. They're stuck on this trajectory for like 3 years or something. I'm like, they can't just go boop.
So they have to have 3 years because they want 3 seasons.
They want 3 seasons out of the show. Yeah, and, no, I'm not sold on that. If they don't address that in some way, if they don't say, "Hey, this is why we can't just course correct for a half a second,"
I don't think their audience is like the Trek nerd audience. Their audience is HBO viewers who don't care about that kind of
like
stuff.
If you ever watched Veep, so like Veep, even though it's about a vice president and her staff. They never actually tackle any like political stuff in the movie or in the show. It's all about these weird characters and their idiosyncrasies and their awkward interactions with one another. And that's where like the humor comes from. And I feel like this show is very similar in the sense that it's not really about the science or the fiction, like it's about these characters in this situation.
I get that, but how hard would it be?
Let's put all these caricatures of people in a spaceship and see what they do.
I get that. And, I'll probably keep watching it because, like I said, I love Hugh, Laurie, and I love his comedy and stuff like that. So I'm in, but I'm just, how hard would it be for them to address this one little thing? Like they said they're off by 0.21 of a degree. I'm like, you have the ability to fly through space in a giant luxury cruiser.
Like, put some directional thrusters on.
But you don't have any directional thrusters? Like, what?
I have a theory that so what happens in the show is that they have a gravity flip situation where the ship flips its gravity to a different axis, I guess.
Yeah.
And everyone gets thrown against the side of the ship, and the impact of that
that's what happened.
Knocks them off course. And I have a theory that there's someone on the ship who sabotaged it, and they're going to continue to sabotage the ship. So like no matter what they try to fix it, things are going to get messed up somehow. But also in the
it's probably Neelix
in the fix of
I forgot about Neelix was in the show.
In the fix of in fixing that gravity flip, the head engineer who is secretly the captain ends up dying.
Yeah.
And so like the ship is basically leaderless at this point.
Turns into a kebab.
Spoilers.
That's one episode. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting setup. I liked, they introduced all the characters, including Neelix as the aging astronaut hippie.
He was one of the first 40 people to land on Mars.
He was the 30th.
The first Canadian, though.
That was kind of funny.
I just liked how after like all this disaster happened, he's just like, "Hey, everyone, look, the asteroid," because they're like waiting for this asteroid to come by.
I love how he's like, "If you guys don't start listening to me, you're all gonna die, and you're gonna be first."
It does have some really good moments to it. I just my super nerd brain is kind of going haywire with
Josh Gad's character. I thought was really funny.
Olaf.
Yeah, I'm not sold on him quite yet. He kind of annoys me.
Well, I think he's supposed to.
Yeah, that is his character.
Like he comes out, he's just like, "I just had a great 15-minute brainstorming session. I came up with like a million ideas."
His wig pisses me off.
Make all this happen.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah.
Make everything I wrote down happen.
Hey, can we do fast yoga?
We burn some calories so we can sell more steaks.
Yeah. What was that one? Karen with her sister has the big little
enlarged toe.
Enlarged toe.
Oh yeah, the little toe's bigger than the big toe.
No, that was the most entertaining characters in my book. Was just the couple that was trying to save their marriage by going on this.
They hate each other.
They hate each other, and like their interactions. What was your thing about uniforms, babe?
Oh yeah, you have a thing for garbage men too.
Like, you want to bone a garbage man? He's in uniform.
She's like, "Stop being such a child." I'm a child.
I made a joke about it last night when we were at dinner, and he was like, "You want to bone a garbage man? What?" I was like, "Oh man."
Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
I just like after she storms off, he's like, "Give me 5 of those Danishes." He's like, "We can't be trapped on here. I'm with my current wife."
He like zooms in on the picture of that guy's dick. He's like, "You want that, don't you?"
It wasn't even his dick. It was just his crotch. He was wearing pants. It's like, "You want that, don't you?"
This is weird.
I guess I missed that part.
You missed that part? It was pretty funny. Next up on HBO's list is Avenue 5. Matt, you didn't like this episode?
No,
you didn't even watch it.
I didn't even watch it. I'm
like,
going to watch Larry David.
Okay.
So,
what is that? Curb Your Enthusiasm?
yeah.
I've never seen a single episode of that show.
You need to start. It's great.
Is it like Seinfeld level great?
It's way better.
Way better than Seinfeld?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's R-rated Seinfeld.
Oh, okay.
For sure. It's fantastic.
I know it's been super popular.
I've never been a big fan of it.
You don't like Larry David?
Yeah. Like sometimes he does good stuff and other times not so much.
It's so absurd. It really is.
It's a very uncomfortable show to watch. Okay. like that's the whole humor is how uncomfortable every scene is with him.
I'll give it a shot. I'll take a look at it.
Watch the season where they're doing the Broadway version of The Producers.
Okay.
That was the best season of Curb, in my opinion.
Okay, I'll find out what it is. My opinion on this next episode 2 of Avenue 5, I'm on the fence. I'm like you, dude. I'm like, this show is better kick it into high gear or I'm not going to watch it anymore. Because this episode had, again, like the season premiere, it had some funny moments, but a lot of it was a swing and a miss for me. And the premise of the show is just not keeping me engaged. Like as much as the people on this ship don't want to spend time together, I don't want to spend time watching them together. Like it's not fun anymore.
It's like because this is from the same people that made Veep.
Yeah,
I watched one episode of Veep when it first started, and I never watched another one.
Yeah.
So what you guys are going through is like what I went through when I first started watching Veep. Like it feels like it's not a good show. But the deeper you get into it, the better it gets, especially once you understand who the characters are. And I feel like Avenue 5 is kind of going through the same thing. I thought this episode was great. The whole thing about the corpses orbiting the ship, I thought was just fantastic. And you know what? I think what's throwing a lot of people is that it's not a straight out comedy. Mm-hmm. Like it is kind of dramatic in a lot of places. And the comedic bits are just thrown in there and kind of almost feel out of place. But I mean, like the part where, Judd gets on the horn with NASA and tells him to suck it, because they're like, we're going to be home in 6 weeks. and NASA's like, okay, well, F you.
Yeah. And like, everybody's like, don't do that.
Yeah, don't piss off NASA. I mean, like everything about this show reeks of the first season of Veep to me. And I did not like the first season of Veep. But the deeper I got into it, and I think the more comfortable the writers got with the premise and the actors and knowing how to play to their strengths and stuff like that, the better the show got. And so by the later seasons of Veep, it was like one of the best shows on HBO, in my opinion. And I feel like Avenue 5 is kind of going through the same growing pains. And so I'm willing to give it, a couple seasons to kind of find its footing. And
I'll probably end up watching the episode later on this week. I've just had a hard time.
It might be better for you guys to wait until the season's over and then just binge it.
Could be,
you know, so you can see like everything at once. Because I think week to week, because it's a half hour and like it's a totally new premise, I think that they're kind of struggling to communicate what the show really is. I mean, like the whole thing about like the 30-second delay in communication. Like, there's so many jokes they can do with that. It's really good.
Fix it. I need to fix the 30-second delay. You can't fix the 30-second delay. Get somebody on it. It does. It does have its moments. It's got some charm. And like I said, I love Hugh, Laurie. So I'll probably keep watching it, but I'm not. I'm kind of like, I'm just watching it because I feel kind of obligated to. That's the only real reason.
I'm really enjoying it.
I'm going to wait and binge it like Matt said. Okay. I think I'm going to try that approach this time. And I normally don't like binge shows.
Yeah.
But
maybe this is at least like maybe 2-3 episodes at a time instead of just one, because they're only half an hour, so it wouldn't take long to binge that season. This show you just straight stopped watching, Avenue 5.
I'll binge that one when it's done.
Yeah.
Speaking of zombies,
floating dead people.
His arm broke off. Now it's orbiting his coffin. So God. Cool.
It's amazing.
This episode got me a little bit more. I found it funnier than the last two. There was some moments that were just like the realization that the captain was actually captaining a crew that wasn't really a crew.
That was fantastic.
I knew that was coming.
So you guys are on 3, right?
Yeah. All right. That was hilarious, man. I was laughing out loud at that part. Yeah, I was like, are you serious?
I like he was like why are you here? He's like, I'm a model. I just look good.
What do you do? Oh, I adjust the lights. Actually, there's a little technique to it. That you have
She's like, I'm a hand model, so I'm actually qualified for this.
I also love the part where she's like, I've been in character for 4 weeks now, and it's really taken its toll creatively.
That was pretty funny.
And the explanation was like Judd wanted a hot crew of engineers, and nowhere on that Venn diagram do those two things intersect.
It's impossible to find hot people that know science.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
And it was a fantastic reveal too, because at first we thought that he was the captain was the only imposter.
Yeah.
Because he's an actor who's just pretending to be a captain. And so he was like, well, but I'm surrounded by all these qualified crewmen, so like I can pull this off.
Yeah.
And then once he finds out that his crew is completely fake and there's actually no one on the ship who actually knows what they're doing, he's like, oh my God, we are so screwed.
Yeah.
I just love that reveal where he's going through and they're like, we thought you were steering the ship. And he takes the steering wheel and he's like, look at this. He's just moving it left and right, like willy-nilly. He's like, it does nothing. Like everyone was acting.
And they open up the hatch and all the real engineers are in there like cockroaches.
He's like, what is this, a betting syndicate?
Yeah, there was a lot of funny moments in this episode. Actually, I enjoyed this one much more, and it kind of got me back on board on this show. So I was happy about that. And I love the fact that they made Karen like the ambassador to the crew.
The crew ambassador.
And she like hates the idea at first, and then she's like, but we'll give you this suite. And she's like, yeah, all right. And then she goes and she spins the okay, so this engineer dude that came up with the 6-month thing, he was just totally full of shit from the beginning, right?
Well, no. Basically, if you watch the beginning where he's kind of going over the numbers and the other engineer corrects him, where he's like 4,500 people, and she's like, actually it was 5,000. And you see the look on his face be like, oh. And so, like, basically, he didn't take into account the 500 lottery winners that were additional, their weight. And so he was like, oh, well, it's actually, instead of a 6-month timeline, it's actually going to be 3 years plus 6 months because of the extra weight. And everyone's like, wait, what?
And I'm like, or you know what I'm about to say.
We could just kill them all.
We can just kill them.
We can just get rid of 500
just get
people.
rid of that extra weight.
Just get rid of the 500 people. That was a pretty good moment. I was confused though, because he said 6 months the first time, and they were like, whoa, no way. And then the lady was kind of skeptical. She's like, this guy's numbers are kind of off usually. But now, so because of the 500 people, it's tacked on an extra 3 years?
No,
or it was always 3 years, and now he tacked on an extra 6 months?
It was always 3 years, but because of his calculations, he was getting the 6-month time frame, but he thought the 6-month time frame meant it was going to be a 6-month journey. But instead it was adding 6 months to the original 3 years.
This still sounds like bullshit because they don't have thrusters on this giant...
What does weight have to do with anything in space?
Mass.
Mass, yeah. Because they're using the gravitational pull of the planets and the moons to get around. So if you change the mass, it's the same thing, same reason why...
I'm not going to get all tricky. It doesn't matter. So it's fine.
It's the same reason why, like in real, like when they bring back moon rocks, they can only bring back so much because they can't haul that much weight.
But it's funny because like you now have like 4 corpses orbiting the ship,
and they're all starting to break apart.
Yeah, and there's a scene where the captain's talking to Karen. He's like, it's scaring the children and the women and the men.
It's scaring everybody.
Like there are a lot of good things in this show. Like it's not like laugh out loud funny, but it's like when you think about what it is they actually say.
Moments, yeah.
She's like, it's really cool, huh? Science is cool. And he's like, no, it's terrifying.
And Judd's whole like rescue plan thing with the protein balls.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Is this an Earth-sized protein ball?
And Matt's there, and he's like, wait, the shuttle's the same size as the Earth? And then he like bites into the Earth and like spits it out. And he's like, okay, happy? And he's like, wait, did you just destroy the Earth or cut the ship in half?
And then the lady's like, use your imagination, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always like I'm watching the show and I kind of chuckle at things, but it's always funnier when we talk about it and I remember what they say and then we all kind of it's
we
funnier.
Should be watching this together.
Yeah, we definitely
Veep
should.
was the same way though. Like,
is it?
Like you'd watch Veep and the humor's very dry and subtle, and then when you're talking about it afterwards to people who watch the episode, you just start cracking up.
Yeah.
when you're like recalling
because
certain parts.
Matt Vader, you're even starting to laugh when we're discussing the parts that it's like it sounds.
I'm sure it's funny.
Yeah, and the part where was it Karen? Is that her name? The crew ambassador.
Yes, Karen.
Like
the meme, the walking meme.
Yes.
Yeah, she finds out that it's going to be 3.5 year journey, and so she has to go to the
rest of the
promenade where all the passengers are, and she's like, they told me it was going to be 5 years, and I said no, that's unacceptable. I said I want it in 3, and they came back with 3.5. You're welcome. And everyone starts applauding. Then there's this one guy,
dude, like, wait, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's like, if they could do it in 3.5, why did they say 5? And her husband stands up and he's like, hey, nobody knows, but she does, and we don't need to know why. And everyone starts clapping again.
Yeah,
and I love it when they're complaining about like all the shit that the workers on the ship are doing. Like, somebody put an asshole on my bed this morning. And
it's a folded
somebody
towel.
called my son a pig, and there was gum on my pillow.
What about my pig son?
And he's like, well, in the Chinese culture, pigs are a good thing.
Yeah.
but it's funny because it does seem like there's like a slight crew revolt going on.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
All the maids are like being like really rude to people.
Yeah.
And stuff. It's almost like now that they know that they're like going to be stuck with them for longer, the
niceties are going away now. Yeah,
and you can see like it's starting to get to the point where we're going to have these Battlestar Galactica, Lord of the Flies scenarios where like just civilization breaks down on the ship and they're going to have to deal with it.
If the show goes that direction, that will legit get my attention. That sounds hilarious.
But that part where she puts the towel down on the bed and they're like, it looks like a sphincter, and she's like, no, it's a rose, and they're like, no, it's an asshole. Look at it.
And Matt takes a picture of it. He's like, the puckering is amazing. It's beautiful.
The talent of this crew.
Workmanship.
I gotta watch it again.
We're getting you back on board, huh? Pun intended. All right, so go check out Avenue 5. It's actually starting to get funny. For me, the second episode was a bit of a low spot, but this one was it made up for it. So I'm enjoying this. And I legit hope that it's true that they go Lord of the Flies with this and people just start killing each other. Like, that would make my day.
I don't know if they'll kill each other, but like it'll definitely be like some very awkward scenarios. Like when the captain met with Karen, and she's like, just so we're clear, coitus is off the menu. And he's like, that's a very strange menu, but okay.
And I think he's just going to be drunk for the rest of the season.
Oh, man.
And we got to learn that before he became a fake captain, he was a vintner. Yeah. Like a wine connoisseur.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's in like this weird like three-way marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Was it two gay guys?
No, it was
a man and a woman.
A man and a woman.
Okay. Yeah, that was an interesting reveal.
And his accent keeps fluctuating throughout each episode.
He's like, oh, does champagne make you British?
It's like you apologize 3 times. You are British.
Yeah, there are some good moments in this show. Talking about funny accents. Can we talk about Avenue 5?
Oh, yeah.
We've got,
oh my God.
We totally
we've got
can.
Hugh, Laurie on there just
What a great
killing
segue. Yes.
Killing it with his fake British accent and his fake American accent.
Fake American accent that he can't hold.
Yeah.
Every time
he gets frustrated, he just loses
going
it.
back to his British one. So
I love how like he just switches accents so flawlessly. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. He kills it in this show.
So let's just set the stage for a second here. So basically, Avenue 5, it's the new comedy series from the creators of Veep, which was the Julia Louis-Dreyfus political satire comedy on HBO.
mm-hmm.
And this is like a science fiction show. It's about a luxury cruise liner called Avenue 5, which is run by this company called Judd Industries. And the character of Judd is like this.
Josh Gad.
He's Josh Gad, but he's kind of like an Elon Musk type. I
don't know about that.
Well, like Elon Musk type in terms of like being an entrepreneur and doing like
he's a trust fund baby.
He's a complete and total
but
dumbass.
Yeah. Again, setting the stage. So basically, he's this like very wealthy, independent financier who creates a luxury space cruise line for space tourism. And this is his 5th ship, its 5th voyage, and something goes terribly wrong in the first episode that knocks the ship off course so that what was supposed to be like a 6-week cruise, space cruise, basically turns into a potential 3-year journey back to Earth. And it's filled with all these like bizarre characters, the captain of which is played by... Hugh, Laurie from House, and we have all the ship crews, like people and like the passengers and the mission control people at home and stuff like that. And so when we first started watching this, me and Jude were instantly on board, but Alex and Matt were both like, the show's stupid. I don't think it's funny.
I was in that party as well. It took me, because you were like, we were going to talk about it. And I was like, oh man, I couldn't, I watched the first couple episodes.
It was hard to get into, huh?
It really
was too dumb.
It was, but I gave it a chance, and it was like...
And it's one of those shows where, because it's a half-hour comedy, you have to binge it in order to truly appreciate how brilliant it is. Because when we were first watching the show, it was week to week.
Yeah.
And because I'd kind of watched Veep in the same way, I kind of knew what to expect with it. I just knew the show was going to get really good. But you guys were all just like, I can't watch this. This is dumb. It's not funny.
No, that makes sense, because it was better binging the last, the last, I think, 7 episodes, because there's 10 episodes, or is there 9?
9. There's 9.
Yeah. So I binged the last 6 episodes, because I watched the first 3 weekly. And
it's hard. Yeah, it was hard to get through.
It was.
So what's your guys' opinion now that you've gotten to see the whole first season?
Daniel, go ahead. You can start.
It grew on me, because the situation is so absurd, and the people in it are just so... I've never been on an actual cruise. I'm actually one of those guys, kind of like a Bill Burr guy, talk shit about people who go on cruises. I'm very much on board with Bill Maher's last rant. I don't know if you saw his rant about how they should close down the cruise line industry. It was on his last episode of Real Time last week. I'm very much on board with that. So having that mind frame watching this, it was funny, because I was like, yeah, these are the type of dipshits that do this kind of thing. Just these clueless, wow, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. Clueless, rich, entitled.
They're walking memes.
They are walking memes. Like you were saying earlier, it was supposed to be 6 weeks and a potential 3 years. And in the last episode, that lady who likes to think she runs. Oh, yeah.
We're doing full spoilers.
There's going to be tons of spoilers.
Yeah.
Well, now, she jettisoned everything out of the wrong airlock, and so now it's an 8-year mission or something, or an 8-year cruise. I'm like, oh my god, these people are.
And by the way, the physics in this show do not make any sense.
No.
But they are used very funny.
That was one of the sticking points that I had with it when I was first watching it, being like a sci-fi fan, Star Trek, Stargate, stuff like that, where they try to at least try and stick to real world physics. And I was watching the show, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
They don't care. This is like Orville science.
Yeah. It's. But it's so, if you can kind of just enjoy it for the ridiculousness that it is, it's really dark humor too.
Oh yeah, that show is very dark.
I was very surprised about
the airlock episode.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so good. And those idiots kept going back out.
It's like, I work in Hollywood in the special effects industry.
I'm sorry, Matt.
They should have thrown that lady out.
I was thinking of you when I saw that character. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. That stands for visual effects.
I know what visual effects means.
Yeah.
That's not what the F stands for.
But no, it got really. I actually find myself wanting to see season 2.
Oh, yeah.
But no, Hugh Laurie is
perfect.
Fucking brilliant in it, man.
Yeah,
he's definitely the best part of that show.
Dude, that part where he takes his wig off.
Oh my god, that point! I was like, oh my god, no, don't do that.
It took him so long to do it. He's peeling it off of his head. It's disturbing.
But the one crew member who kept the wig because she kind of liked it. Did you guys notice?
She noticed she put it up on her mantle next to her workstation. It was just sitting there.
That was so beat up. He puts it back on, and then the lady just takes off. This is fake, just like everything else in here is fake. There's an airlock.
It's like a movie set.
Yeah. It's like, no, it's just cheap.
It's cost effective. And the other thing too. Okay, well, Vader, what was your starting opinion, and then having finished it, what's your opinion now of the show?
When I first started it, I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I did not like it.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was really hard for me to get into.
Same.
And then I think right around the time they launched the shit out the pipe, and they created the shit ring around the ship.
Because that was the Pope.
that was the start of it. I'm like, okay, this is good. I think I'm going to be into this show.
They established that the starship is so massive that it has its own gravity.
Creates its own gravity.
So anything that they shoot out, if there's not enough velocity, it gets caught in this gravity circle around the ship. And throughout the season, there's this running joke of stuff that just gets sucked into the ship's gravity, like dead bodies. and then they have this poop shield, which is a legit thing where the human waste from the ship gets recirculated to absorb the solar radiation.
Yep.
and it springs
it's the only
a
thing
leak.
in the show that actually might be legit.
And it springs a leak, and it just starts shooting all this shit out the side of the ship, and it gets caught in the gravity. So like, there's just this ring of shit that's like rotating around the ship constantly.
It's like, ooh, let's put lights on it to make it pretty.
Yeah, they're like, if we have to look at it, we might as well make it pretty. So like, they create
like
this laser show.
Yeah.
And once the lights hit it, they see the face of Pope John Paul II in the shit. And so like people start getting really religious, and they like congregate in the chapel to watch John Paul's face come by every hour or so. They have like little pictures of him like posted on the wall.
Yeah. I also get a big kick out of the tours of the bridge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Of the non-working fake bridge.
Yeah, with the
It's so
actors
good.
and that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because Judd is so image conscious that like they hired not actual like spaceship pilots for like the ship. They just hired a bunch of actors to portray like what people think spaceship pilots should look like, and they don't actually control anything on the bridge. Like the bridge is like everything on the ship is on autopilot, and nobody knows how to work it.
Forward thrust is nominal, sir.
Yeah. They just repeat the same script.
It's like a bunch of
I did
bullshit.
like the point where Hugh Laurie's character quit as being captain, and they brought in Neelix to replace him.
Yeah.
He's sitting up there, and he's like, "Tell me." He asked him to do something, and they responded with that script, and he's like, "That's not really what I asked you, but okay, we can deal with that."
And
He's like standing at the.
It's like, that's funny. This thing's not reacting.
Neelix's character is like an actual astronaut.
Yeah.
But he's like retired, and he's just kind of like on the ship as like as an attraction almost.
Yeah.
But like he has some great lines, like where that guy from The Office, who's the lady's husband, he's like, maybe I'll grow a ponytail like that guy. He's like, oh no, you can't grow this ponytail. I have very strong follicles. He's like this old hippie.
Yeah. When I first started watching this show, I found it super difficult to get into. I was like, it was too dumb for me. The comedy was like on that level of like just overly stupid. And I couldn't get into it, but then I knew we were going to do the season 1 recap of it, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to binge. I think I binged 5 episodes in a row, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it was just the difference in watching it binge-worthy versus week to week, but I found the comedy they must have upped the dial on the comedy a little bit, because when I was watching it, I was like, this is so much funnier than the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
Like
I think they eased into the dark humor, and then they just kind of turned it all the way up.
I completely disagree, because like from the first episode onward, it's always been like this. But the thing about these comedies is that once you get to know the characters and you kind of understand what they're going for in terms of the tone of the show, you get into it. Like for instance, having the second president being Alexa, basically. Like there are 2 presidents in this future, and one of them is human, and one of them is just like a AI that is like a little Alexa like thing that makes decisions.
Okay, your acquisition, or what did he say?
No, well, he proves it, but he's like, you gotta kill 500 people.
Yeah, can you?
Jesus, like that, only a machine would be that cool and calculated.
And then the delay when she's like, they told me that I had to kill 300 or 500 people, and then it just cut, and they're like, what?
Oh yeah, like this show is filled with great little gags. Like for instance, there's like a 30-second delay between communication from Earth and the ship.
Yeah.
And so every time they have to do like a conversation with people on Earth, it's like so awkward, and nobody knows what the fuck is being said.
It's like watching a news network like try to talk to their anchors out in the field.
Yeah.
It's like that delay.
Always takes a second. This one is like,
okay,
like
Bob.
30
Yeah, we
seconds.
got this going on.
But like once you get to know the characters, like this show becomes like so much more like rich and in depth. Like for instance, the unfunny comic, the stand-up comic.
Oh, yeah.
The kid from
he's
yesterday.
Yeah. Who's just like really bad at telling jokes.
Yeah.
And then you have my favorite character, Matt, the cruise
that
line
guy.
director guy.
Oh, yeah. He's also from The Office, too.
Well, but he's also from Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
He was in that as well. Played a completely different character.
Well, you can thank him for all those airlock deaths.
Yeah.
That was so funny.
Oh my god!
And it was
This is
great.
all a simulation.
They really went.
We're a
They really
simulation.
went
We're a
dark. I
simulation.
mean, there was that one family with a kid.
Yes.
That
was very dark.
Oh yeah, they left their kid in a coma and went on the cruise.
And then as soon as they die, they get the message that their son woke up from the coma.
Yeah.
And people are like, what are we going to tell them?
Yeah.
So for those of you who haven't seen the episode yet, so there's this whole subplot where they have to basically get rid of 500 crew members worth of weight on the ship in order to try to get home in a reasonable amount of time, like instead of 3 years, like 3 weeks, something like that. So they're all trying to figure out what's non-essential on the ship that they can eject out the rear airlock in order to give them an acceleration boost. And while they're doing this, people are kind of like on edge and pissed off and stuff like that. And there's all these little things going on with the crew that makes the passengers think that they're being lied to.
Actually, they think they're on like a game show.
Reality show, like Big Brother.
They think they're on like a fake reality show simulation type thing. And so it gets to the point where they believe that if they go out the airlock, they'll just be able to go back home, and like they're not actually trapped
like
on a spaceship.
Yeah, like a Truman Show.
There was even like a line where she's like, "They're probably in the green room,"
and all the crew are like, "No, we're actually in space. If you go in the airlock, you're going to die." And there's this one woman who's like, "I'm a visual effects artist in Hollywood, and I can spot special effects from a mile away, and this is all fake."
Yeah,
and everyone believes her. And so like, there's this one guy. Where they kind of had this couple who was like a joke throughout the series, where like they went on a cruise while their only son was in a coma, and they're like, "We have to get back to our son," and the father goes into the airlock. And the minute the airlock opens, he just freezes.
Yeah,
and like there's little droplets of blood.
No, then his eyes pop out or something too.
Yeah.
It was like
his eyes exploded.
And everyone like freaks out, and the woman's like,
"No, that was fake."
Yeah. She was like, "That was so fake." And so like people keep going in the airlock to prove it's fake and dying. And the crew's just like, "What are you guys doing?"
Even though one, what was her name, Sarah? Like she hits the side and her arm like breaks off, and then the visual effects lady's finally like, "Okay, that might be real."
It's like, why would they make that an effect?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Sarah was one of my favorite characters because she was part of the bridge crew, and she was in her day job. She was a hand model.
And it's her hand that gets blown off. I missed that.
And like she had this weird thing where she was always in character as quote unquote Sarah. But so people kept asking, is this character Sarah or real Sarah talking? And towards the end there, she was like, "Even I don't know at this point." It's very subtle. She was always in character. Like she was like, "I've been in character for 3 weeks now, and it's getting really hard."
So let's go across the board. Favorite character and favorite episode. Matt, what do you got?
Favorite
character and favorite episode.
Probably the captain. Hugh Laurie. Yeah. I don't know why. He just kind of stands out in my head. And my favorite episode would definitely be the shit breaking line.
Okay.
When the poop goes all the way around. Yeah.
You know what's great about Hugh Laurie is like in the final episode of the season, they did this thing where they have to search for Matt, and Matt like changed the airlock codes because he was so traumatized about everyone killing themselves in the airlock.
Well, it was his big inspiring speech.
Yeah, and they needed to get the airlock codes in order to eject the excess cargo at a certain time. Otherwise, they were going to miss their window. So they're searching everywhere for Matt, and Hugh Laurie, they go to his quarters, and he's like, "I think I know where he might be." And it's just like a real take charge, like Star Trek captain moment. And then like they go to the place where he thinks he might be, he's not there. And he's like, "I don't know why I thought I could do anything. I'm not a real captain. I'm not effective. I'm an actor. I don't do anything." like they gave him this moment where like he was like showing real leadership. And then he just comes to realize, I'm not a leader. Why am I doing this?
It gets completely undercut by reality. Like, you don't actually know what you're doing. I love that part where the guy, I think he was with Judd, right? Yeah. He was with Judd at that point, and they go into this big white room with the fan at the end, and Judd's like, "What is this place?" And he's like, "It's the antechamber for the thrusters or whatever." And he's like, "Why does the thrusters need an antechamber?" He's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Oh yeah, that's right. You don't know anything."
It's just an excuse to have like a big white room with a fan. And when they finally find Matt, they were like, "We thought you were in the thruster antechamber." He's like, "What would I be doing there?" And they're like, "We don't know."
He's been just wandering around the ship the whole time.
There's a lot of those like real, and you just mentioned, just brought one to my attention, was the hand model thing. There's a lot of those setup things in the beginning that are like paid off in hilarious ways at the end. So it's a good stuff. Danny, favorite character and favorite episode.
The airlock episode's got to be my favorite episode. Just the illustration of the retardation of these people was just like, I was like, how many more people are going to keep going in there?
I honestly thought they were going to kill more. I thought it was going to be like a whole chunk of them.
I thought that was going to be how they got the 500.
There's the 500 people. And then but Hugh Laurie's character by far for me is the most interesting. He's got like the divorce thing.
The tri-divorce or whatever.
Because he has a husband and a wife.
He's in a poly relationship.
Where he gets kicked out of, like, when him and Josh Gad's character Judd get into that fight, and then he basically fires him. And he's like, "No, I quit." But then he takes away all of his privileges, so nobody will feed him and stuff like that.
It's like, where am I supposed to sleep?
Yeah, he gets kicked out of his room.
He's got no Judd bucks.
Yeah,
no Judd bucks.
So, definitely Hugh Laurie, and definitely that airlock episode.
I want to
so dark.
Before I forget, I did want to say that if you look at the titles of these episodes, they're very much titled the same way we title our episodes of the podcast, where we just take a random funny line from the movie and we make it the title. And I was like looking through the titles of the episodes, and I'm like, oh my God, they're doing the same thing. They just take some random line, has nothing to do with the overall plot. They just say, like, oh, this guy said something funny, and this kind of has something to do with whatever they're talking about.
Is that what we do?
Yeah. Isn't that what we do?
I do have a question.
I don't know how you do these things.
Cats the movie?
The movie. Doesn't Will Smith have something to do with this?
He's a producer on it.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. I saw his name in the pop up in the credits, but
cool.
I didn't see what it was.
He's one of the producers.
Oh. So that just means he just helped pay for it, probably.
Yeah.
He probably helped get it made.
Yeah.
Matt's a producer on the podcast.
Yeah. I don't do anything.
He does more than you think. He tells me to shut up and do work when I'm like being lazy.
Get to work.
Make the thumbnails.
I'm like the real life Judd. I'm like, Iris.
You're way more.
Oh, okay. So
you're way more endearing.
Yeah. My favorite episode. I think it probably have to be the airlock episode, also, just because how dark it went.
Yeah.
I loved how dark it went.
And like, as dark as this show gets, it's hilarious.
It is.
It's like so ridiculously dark where you're just like, okay, I'm on board with this.
I think that was probably my favorite episodes, and I think Iris might actually, besides Hugh Laurie, because Hugh Laurie I think is above and beyond most anybody on the show, but Iris. Her just complete salt and angst towards everybody. I'm like, I love that woman. And it sucks
because now she's not on the ship anymore.
I know. I wonder what they're going to do with that.
That was a real bummer.
I think she's going to start running Mission Control in season 2.
That might be true.
That would be good. That would be perfect for her.
There was one thing I did notice about this last episode that I thought was kind of cool, and that was there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes in the belly of the ship when they were out looking for Matt and everything. And I kind of made me compare the strip down here and the big fancy casinos I work at. Yeah. Because you go up on the casino level in the restaurants and everything is gorgeous and beautiful and looks expensive and it looks expensive. Okay, it's plastic. It's all plastic. And you go through the little employees only door and it's like a maze of boxes and dirty floors and they do these things going for miles. And it's just it's kind of cool, how they kind of captured that.
I used to work security on the strip too. Well, same thing.
It's very true to actual cruise ships too, like because like the employees' quarters and stuff, like they were showing pictures of it because the coronavirus was real big on cruise ships, and like they pack them in there like their rooms, their little bunks and everything.
Right. Can we talk about the gag where like the ship's crew like housekeeping crew started like leaving like towels in the shape of sphincters on people's beds.
There was like
just fun with people.
I really thought that they were going to go farther with that because they introduced that in like what episode 4?
Episode 1.
Was it episode 1? Okay, I thought they were going to keep going with that and have like some kind of like a crew revolt where they were just going to stop cooking food for these people, and it never went that way. Maybe we'll see that in season 2. But
my favorite character is my namesake Matt. Because like in every episode, like every scene he's in, he just steals, and
he's so awkward.
He is awkward, but like when he's playing like counselor or therapist, and he has like the word cloud with like like male bitch, like stuff like that. But like if you just listen to his interactions, like every time like he speaks, everything that comes out of his mouth is hilarious, and like you don't always catch it on the first viewing, but if you go back and just watch his scenes. Like his stuff is fucking phenomenal.
There's a great example of that when he was talking about heading to the bar for to bury your father, whatever, your daddy issues in alcohol, and he's like, and don't worry, your dad won't be there because he never is. It's just like, Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Right?
but even the final episode where like he's hiding and everyone's looking for him, and like Judd and Hugh Laurie finally find him, and they're like and he's like, why were you looking for me? He's like, because you were hiding, and he's like, well, aren't we all hiding? This is a big metaphor.
Yeah. He does that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with the airlock speech, he's like, life is a simulation.
Yeah. And this is a simulation. You're not wrong. But if you go out there, you will die in the simulation.
Yeah, and they're like, we don't know if this is helping or not, because like the metaphor is good, but like we think he's still encouraging people to kill themselves.
I really wish they would have kept the other billionaire guy around.
Oh, the one that died in the airlock.
Yeah,
Well, the great thing about having a ship with like 5,000 passengers is like they can just keep introducing like new ones. So my favorite character was definitely Matt, and I have like a toss up for my favorite episode. So I really loved the episode where Hugh Laurie finds out that everyone on the bridge is fake and like he doesn't actually control anything. And because I just felt that reveal was like really well done, and it really set the stage for a lot of the series to come. But then the other episode I really enjoyed was the one where there's like a beeping sound on the ship.
Yeah.
And they think that it means
So
that they're
funny.
running out of oxygen, and they can't find the source of the beep. And it's like one of those things where you have like a smoke detector in your house that's like low on battery, and it'll just beep randomly, and it'll scare the fuck out of you and make you like crazy.
Yeah.
And because like while this is going on, like it happens every 20 minutes or so, no one can get any sleep because it keeps waking them up.
Something really subtle that I thought.
So like they start turning to drugs, and people think that the captain's a drug addict.
The sedatives were for you.
Yeah,
he's trying to sedate Judd.
Yeah, he's trying to get sedatives to sedate Judd. But he thinks that, Matt, who's his dealer, thinks that he has like a drug problem. So he starts spreading this rumor about him having a drug problem.
There's just a ton of fun stuff in this show.
Yeah.
I definitely recommend it. Now that you can binge the whole season and they're only like half hour long.
It's definitely a show you got to binge.
Yeah.
You could do it in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in quarantine for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's at home sitting around trying to find stuff to watch. Go watch Avenue 5. Even though we all spoiled it for you, it's still funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you actually sit there and watch it, there's so many gags in every scene of the show that we can't do it justice.
Oh,
like you have to watch it to experience. And it's one of those shows where like it may not be funny as you're watching it, but when you talk about it with friends, it becomes so much funnier.
Definitely. I laugh more talking to you guys about it than I do when I'm watching it. But yeah, it's a great show. Highly recommended.